Hey guys, in this video I'm going to tell you guys how to level up fast and easy. Now, I've already made a video on power leveling and it's doing pretty well, but after posting it I realized that it was lacking a bit of information. This video will be a comprehensive guide to leveling up fast and will also be covering as well as expanding on the previous power leveling video. If you rather want the shorter video on power leveling, then please click the link below in the description. Firstly, I want to touch on the subject of reading books and schematics, which you need to do in order to unlock the corresponding recipes. You can also unlock some recipes like the cement mixer, workbench and leather tanning in the skill tree. However, these skill tree recipes have no relevance to this video on power leveling. Now, when reading a book or schematic for the first time, it will give you some experience as well as unlock the corresponding recipe to that book or schematic. However, reading a book or schematic a second time or more will not give you any experience and will only result in a corresponding skill increasing in the skill tree. So for example, reading the first aid schematic the first time will give you experience and unlock the recipe to make more first aid kits. However, if you read the first aid schematic again, you will not gain any experience and the medicine skill will only increase by 1 point in the skill tree. The only books I recommend you read more than once are the books on iron and leather clothing items, like for example the leather gloves and iron gloves. Since reading books multiple times yield no experience, you should rather craft the corresponding items to increase the skill points and gain some experience. The extra books that you don't read you can always scrap for paper, which is actually very much needed for shotgun ammo. Crafting iron and leather clothing to gain skill points is way too costly on the required resources, hence I recommend you rather read those books to gain points in armor smithing and leatherworking. Furthermore, I recommend that you craft each item in your craft menu at least once, as crafting any item will give you a bit more experience the first time an item is crafted, almost like a little XP bonus for that first craft. Now, to finally get to the way to level up fast and easy, it's actually a very simple and obvious method. All you need to do is mass craft or spam craft certain items. Some people hate this method since they feel it's cheating, but if you think about it, in real life, the only way to get better at making something is to make that something over and over and over again. The items you want to be crafting here are items you can craft great quantities up in the least amount of time. I will now go over which items to craft and which skills will increase by using these methods. These items actually fall under the crafting skills in the skill tree. There are 8 different crafting skills that benefit from this method, namely toolsmithing, weaponsmithing, gunsmithing, miscellaneous crafting, science, tailoring, armor smithing, and leatherworking. The 2 most common methods affect the toolsmithing and weaponsmithing skills. These two methods are the most common since the resources required are easily gained, making these 2 methods cheap and easy to use. To increase the toolsmithing as well as gain experience, I usually mass craft stone axes, since they require the least amount of resources. But I also heard that some people prefer crafting stone shovels since they give a lot more XP, but they also cost a bit more to mass craft than stone axes. For weaponsmithing, I recommend mass crafting wooden clubs, since doing so is very cheap, only requiring a small amount of wood for each wooden club. Also, as a wooden club's quality goes up, so does the quality of your wooden bow, since they both fall under the weaponsmithing skill. A tip when using these 2 methods is to place this chest on a wooden frame so that you can shift-click the items into the chests. It beats having to drag and drop, or rather drop craft items. These 2 methods unfortunately fill up your inventory space very fast. When the chest is full, simply pick up the frame to destroy the chest. This tip is especially useful on multiplayer servers, since drop crafting creates server lag, and this shift-click method actually reduces server lag a lot. The 3rd skill is gunsmithing, which more and more people prefer these days, requires you to only craft gunpowder. More and more people use this method since you only mass craft the tools and weapons until they reach a certain maximum quality, and thereafter it's just a waste of resources to do so. Gunpowder, on the other hand, is an item you'll never get enough of. The 4th skill or method is the miscellaneous crafting skill. The items that fit under this category are cobblestone rocks and cement mix. The 5th and final skill that contributes to fast leveling or power leveling is a science skill. For this skill you'll need shale that you mine from the desert biome, a cooking fire and a beaker in order to cook gas. For this, it is advised to leave the cooking screen open to gain all the skill points. Also, when keeping the cooking screen open, make sure you are also crafting something in the background in the crafting menu. The items in the background should be items from method 3 or 4, since these don't require you to empty your inventory every minute or two. Doing this will make you gain experience for both items at the same time, as well as increase 2 skills at the same time, namely science and the skill corresponding to whatever you are crafting in the background. I said method 5 was the last method, but only in the way of power leveling. These 5 fit the requirements of crafting great quantities in the shortest amount of time, and it's not really that expensive. With the tailoring skill, you can mass craft grass fiber clothing and cloth clothing. This also gives you experience like the previous methods, and like method 1 and 2, the quality goes up. However, the craft time takes way too long for this method to be used in the power leveling side of it. I only ever use this skill to in fact increase my clothing's quality and up that skill in the skill tree. The 7th and 8th crafting skills, as mentioned earlier when I was talking about books and schematics, are armorsmithing and leatherworking. These 2 skills not only have long craft timers, but also are very expensive in terms of resources required for these items. Armorsmithing requires a lot of iron and leatherworking a lot of hides. However, if you are far enough in the game to be able to craft these items, then by all means do so. Well, that's it for this video. Hopefully I covered everything this time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked this video, please leave a like and comment. Also subscribe for more 7 Days to Die content. Thank you for watching.